welcome back to Coaches at Crown Brew Getting Coffee. I want to thank you for joining us today, either via YouTube or listening on one of our streaming services. I want to thank you for your support. I want to thank Ross and Abby for all they do to put this together. I want to thank you for my buddies at Adrenaline Fundraising. You need help raising money. Adrenaline is there for you as a coach or as an organizational leader. They can help you raise a whole bunch of money, and they do it in a short amount of time, and they do it well. I want to thank my buddy Tony Gooch at Marion Plumbing, residential, commercial plumbing needs. Tony's your guy, and I appreciate his sponsorship. Don't forget, Ross has Ross Wedding Videography. You have a wedding coming up or know someone that does, they can take care of you and capture those memories for you. And man, I've got another great guest. Episode number 50 of this podcast. It's hard to believe it's been this many, and I feel blessed to be a part of it. And today's guest is Marion head girls basketball coach Erik Griffin. Erik, welcome.
Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, we're so glad you said yes. I'm going to run down a couple of things, Erik, about your career to introduce to my guest, and then we're going to get into talking about your life and your career. You've been a long-time Illinois basketball coach. You were a legendary high school player with all-state credentials. McDonald's High School All-American.
Honorable mention.
Which is really awesome. Part of the Rich Herron era at SIU during the beginning of that storied era, the rebuild, the turnaround. You have a 106-78 career record as a head coach, 4 regional championships. You were state runner-up when you were head coach at Meridian, which congratulations on that, and a very close championship game, by the way. And most recently, you led the Marion girls to one of their most successful seasons in school history, and you did it with a really young team. And I just want to say again, welcome, and let's jump into this, all right?
Let's go.
All right. Let's talk about Carrier Mills. You're a Carrier Mills born and raised, right?
Yeah. I had about the best childhood a kid could have. Great family, my parents, David, Judge as he was known, and Val, great parents. And I was also fortunate enough to be raised by a community that the respect they had for my parents, and it was just a different era then, but the respect they had for my parents, a lot of the guys that I grew up watching play basketball, that as I got older, I was able to play basketball with them, pick up ball. They made sure that the things the way I had to act at home and the things they knew my parents stood for, that when I was around them, I acted the same way. Yeah. So I didn't have a whole lot of room to screw up.
You couldn't get away with anything.
No, I remember the first time I didn't make the honor roll, and I'm at a basketball game, and a couple of guys I speak to them. It's a high school game, and I speak to them, and they say, hey, we didn't see your name on the honor roll. What's going on?
This is not your parents?
No, these were a couple of high school players.
Yeah.
We didn't see your name on the honor roll. What's going on? And no, you're supposed to be on the honor roll.
Wow.
So they, my parents didn't give a whole lot of expectations where you have to do this, you have to do that. I knew what I was supposed to do as far as grades and behavior. But it was those guys in the community that held me to a higher standard. They saw something in me, and they held me to that. And I owe an awful lot to those guys, because I probably wouldn't be sitting here talking to you right now if they hadn't invested that time in me to make sure I did things the right way, and understood going to college wasn't just for playing basketball, and that I had a responsibility.
Yeah.
So
I feel like that the impact of that, about community, holding people responsible and accountable, and helping parents keep an eye on things. I think we have kind of forgotten the impact that had on so many of us growing up. I'm like you. I lived in a town where everyone knew my parents, and if I did something, I wasn't going to get away with anything. So, and again, I think I didn't want to embarrass my parents, but I also knew that they knew everybody at the school, everybody knew them. So I had 2 older brothers, and there's some accountability with their expectations for me. So I appreciate you sharing that, because that is a big deal, and I'm glad you shared that, because I think kind of a missing thing a little bit. I'm sure that still happens, but I think that's a bygone era.
Yeah, it's not on the same level.
No, not at all.
I don't think now as it was years ago.
What was your basketball start? When did you start playing basketball? I'm sure at a young age.
5th grade. 5th and 6th graders at the time at Carrier Mills went to Stone Fort Middle School, a little small school. The gym was so small that the center circle overlapped with the top of the key at both ends. But as a 5th grader, it looked like Madison Square Garden. It looked huge. My 5th and 6th grade coaches, Jim Bynum. Fortunate enough that all my coaches are still alive. And each of them were extensions of my father. And they had such an impact on me as a person, as an athlete, going into education and as a coach. But he was real big on just teaching us the fundamentals. So there was things that when I went to SIU that I knew how to do a reverse pivot and certain things that I was taught as a 5th and 6th graders that, a couple of my teammates hadn't learned until they got to college. So he was, and he would say, I didn't know anything about basketball, but I knew how to check out a book. And he said he went to SIU and checked out every coaching book he could find. And, he said he was just trying to teach us what he was, reading in those books. But it was, again, it was part of my childhood growing up, and I couldn't thought of a better scenario for me to grow and develop as a basketball player. As to start off, as a 5th grader, the team, we only had 7 or 8 guys on the team, and playing against guys my age. And I didn't stand out or anything at that time, but that was the start of the journey. And ironically, my 5th grade year was the year Carrier Mills went to state. It was the only team that went to state. So that heated the fire up even more, watching those guys go to state, and they got beaten their first game. So, our determination was when we got there, we weren't going to lose. So we just had a lot of motivation. It was a basketball town at the time.
You and I mentioned before that you said there were a lot of pickup basketball games.
Oh, that was all we did.
Yeah.
That was all we did it was a while before, as I call it, the first round draft pick, that I was allowed to play. They would exile me to the grade school courts or to my bike.
Oh, so there was a status.
Yes, there was a huge pecking order there.
Pecking order.
And at that age, I had to get there early before the older guys got down there and get shots up. And, my friends were playing before the older guys got there, because as soon as they got there, our fun time was done. But it was growing up, watching those guys play, going to high school games, watching them play, that at an early age, I decided I wanted to be a basketball player.
I don't want to turn this to an old-timer show, but let's face it. I mean, we talked about the community involvement in your upbringing, but we just don't have those pickup games like we used to. And boy, I don't even think I understood the value of pickup baseball, pickup basketball, pickup football. That's where I learned how to beat one-on-one coverage. That's where I learned how to make certain catches, and just competing against older kids.
If you don't know, you think there's nothing fundamental that can be gained from it. But there's so many. Carrier Mills for years players had the reputation of being good offensive rebounders. Well, we play 21 or 32 where it's one on everybody. And if you want to get the ball, you've got to be a really good defensive player.
Right.
Or you have to be a really good rebounder. And we learned how to track our own shot after we shot the ball. Like sometimes you might want to miss a shot on purpose, and if you can place it just right, you can get your own rebound back. But there were certain things that we learned playing pickup ball that transferred over us to organized basketball.
High school comes along. When did your growth spurt hit? When did you start?
Between 8th grade and my freshman year. I was around 5'7", 5'8" when I started 8th grade, and I was 6'3" when I started my freshman year.
Did it make you awkward?
No, I never went through, not physically, I went through an emotional awkward stage.
We all did.
I was in puberty for like 10 years, it seemed like, but I never went through, fortunately, I never had an awkward stage.
Yeah.
My 8th grade coach was Bill Brown, and he was the first coach to kind of tell me to be that guy. And gave me the freedom to kind of play all over the court and do what I needed to, do what was best for the team to win within, but still be a team player. So that's kind of when my 8th grade year and I started growing, was when I kind of thought, okay, maybe if I'm lucky, maybe I could play in college. It wasn't one of those things that was just cemented in my mind that I want to play in college, I want to play in college. But to me at that time, playing for the Carrier Mills Wildcats was the biggest thing in the world.
Isn't that cool though, that when you're young, that is a big deal. That hometown team is it.
That was the biggest thing in the world to me at that time.
That's really neat. You aspired to be part of that. How successful was your high school era?
Had a lot of talent. My freshman year, we were crazy talented, but we're just crazy. Didn't have a whole lot of team chemistry. And then we were always competitive. On any given night, we could beat anybody, and on any given night, we could get blown out by anybody. My senior year, the pieces came together. We had great chemistry. Our point guard was Scott Schreffler, who graduated from Marion, all-time great Marion, goes to Evansville, and he's in the Hall of Fame over there. We got to the sectional championship lost to West Frankfort, who went on and got fourth in state, but that was still in the two-class system.
Yeah.
West Frankfort was in the South 7 at the time, over 700 students. We were between 175, 200 students. So it was like, we were a couple of steps away from duplicating what the 79 team did, but it was a great year. It was a fun year. The guys got along. We were like brothers, hung out together all the time, worked together. Our coach had to run us out of the gym a lot because, unlike now with the cell phones, if we wanted to hang out together, we had to be in the same place, so we spent a lot of time in the gym.
Good point. And I bet that Carrier Mills gym was rocking on Friday nights.
Oh, there was, for years, we had great fan support. Yeah. We would take a student bus to a lot of games, and depending on the distance, the parents would pool in and get a bus. And there was sometimes we'd go to away games and we'd have more fans than the home team did. But it was just, if you got there late, you're not going to sit down. You're going to park near where the nursing home is or down where the grocery store is. It was just an amazing time. Every place was like that then. You went to any high school game, It was close to being sold out, but it was just a different era. And I hate that players now don't get to experience that. Yeah. That hometown pride, and doesn't matter whether you win or lose, we're going to come out and support you.
Boy, that era back in the 70s and 80s, those gymnasiums would just be packed with fans. And you're right, you want to get there early, you're going to park blocks away, and on a cold winter night,
seeing the line of cars following the bus to games and following the bus home, it was great.
As you went through Carrier Mills, and you mentioned Scott, but were there temptations to leave?
Not really.
No?
Not really.
Sounds like you're pretty grounded in Carrier Mills.
Yeah, there was, the only other option would have been Harrisburg, really, and we were such rivals at the time that there was no way that I would go play for them, and their basketball program wasn't very strong. They were in the South 7. Most of the time they struggled to compete with the Carbondales, the Centralias, and the Mount Vernons, and we beat them. I have to brag about it. We beat them 5 straight times my junior and senior year. It was a situation where, with them being so much bigger than Carrier Mills, they never just dominated Carrier Mills in basketball like you think a AA school in the South 7 should have. So to me, to my family, that was it would have been like a lateral transfer.
Well, and when I said that, I wasn't thinking that you wanted to leave as much as were there people coming to you trying to get you to.
There was.
I should have worded that.
Yeah, there was. And I played for two great coaches in high school. Bob Lane was my coach my freshman and sophomore year, and Jeff Ritchie was my coach my junior and senior year. And like I said, all my coaches are still alive. Coach Lane lives one street north of me. During the summers, I see Coach Ritchie 2 or 3 days a week. We work out in the same gym, so we get to talk. But my loyalty to my coaches and the time that they devoted and invested in me, it wouldn't have been right. These guys are staying after school with you every day and working with you, that you're going to go to another school because it's bigger or, more exposure, So it was never an option.
You had great academic success as well. I mean, you had a great academic career while you were in high school, which is really cool to hear. I mean, and then I know you mentioned in your bio, your post-senior year, you played in several All-Star games, and one of the best stories is the slam dunk contest. You got to share that.
I was a dunker. Well, I'm talking to you now because I never learned how to shoot. I could jump. I spent more time working on dunks than I did my jump shot. We're at the IBCA game. 86, the North-South game, and we had a ton of guys from Southern Illinois on the Class A team. Monty Coonert from DuQuoin, Jason Carson and Dwayne Eplin from Pinckneyville, Phil Koontz from Carlisle. I shouldn't have started naming them because I know I'm going to leave somebody out. Mike Henson from West Frankfort. And we're trying to decide to be in the dunk contest, if I want to be in the dunk contest or not. And I was kind of intimidated because here's these guys from Chicago. Here's Kendall Gill, and here's Nick Anderson, who, these are guys that talked about on TV, and Nick Anderson was Mr. Basketball, and these other guys that, they're like, if you don't enter, nobody from the South is going to enter. So I'm like, okay, I'll enter it. We had the prelims in Robertson Fieldhouse. The game was played at Bradley at the time in Peoria. So the scrimmage games were all in Robertson Fieldhouse, which was old, where Bradley used to play World War II hangar. And it was raining that night. So they got garbage cans around the court to catch the rain. And Kendall Gill, at that time, I thought he was like a high school Michael Jordan. He was just like, I had to do something to get the judge's attention. So I just grab a trash can, drag it, pull it out there, and I jump over the trash can, make the dunk. I get to the finals. Well, the next day, last day we're there, and we're trying to figure out a dunk I can do that could win the contest. And Monty Cooner said, we joke now that we won the dunk contest. He's like, hey, do you think you could jump over me? And I'm like, what do you mean? If I sit in a chair, do you think you could jump over me? I said, I don't know, let's try. Tried it a couple of times and did it in practice. So that night, called the dunk contest, and we come out. Every dunk I went before Kendall Gill, so every dunk I did, he did after me, except he did it better.
Dang it, Kendall.
Like I dunked 2 basketballs, he dunks and reverses. So last dunk, I was like, it's all or nothing right here. Grab the chair, Monty comes out, he sits in it.
Monty's a brave guy.
Yeah, he was, because I cleared him in practice. There was no guarantee that was going to happen that night. I clear him, make the dunk, everybody goes crazy. As we're walking off to leave the court, what does Mr. Gill say? Hey, leave the chair out here. And I'm like, if he jumps over something, if he jumps over 2 people, this is a waste of my time. He just left the chair, jumped over the chair, and I ended up winning the contest, which was, I joke and say that me beating those 2 guys in that dunk contest motivated them to become all Big Ten players and have NBA careers.
Well, listen, when you put that on there, I was like, you've got to tell that story. I was going to ask you what dunk you did to win it because it had to be something special. So.
Yeah, I jumped over Monty sitting in that chair.
That is great. What a great story. And so I mentioned earlier McDonald's All-American.
Honorable mention.
But hey, I don't care. That's huge. I remember how that would come out in the paper and you would see all those faces and I love to look back now. Sometimes you can look at those old McDonald's All-Americans and see some of the names that are still familiar today. And Nick and Kendall and guys like that, those names that are synonymous with Illinois basketball. It's really a great story. You chose SIU. Mm-hmm. Did you have other options?
I could have went to the Air Force Academy. I was recruited by some Ivy League schools. They didn't offer scholarships, so I didn't. As great as it would have been to have gotten an Ivy League education, I wanted the work that I had put into it to end up with a scholarship. Yeah. There were some other schools, Illinois State, Tulsa, wanted me to come on as a walk-on academic scholar, a scholarship and red shirt, which put me under the totem pole. I wouldn't have been the low man on the totem pole. Right. I'd have been under it. And I wanted a scholarship. And it came down to SIU and the Air Force Academy, and I was a mama's boy, and that being gone for 50 weeks out of the year to Colorado Springs wasn't as attractive as it sounded. I could have played a year with David Robinson at the Naval Academy. They recruited me. But Coach Aaron came and watched me play a lot. His father was from Carrier Mills, not from Carrier Mills. His father preached at a Methodist church in Carrier Mills in the 50s.
I didn't know
so
that.
He had a connection with Carrier Mills.
Sure.
And he had said he had seen me play since I was a freshman and sophomore in high school because he always would come to Carrier Mills Harrisburg game because it'd be on a Tuesday and he would scout Harrisburg. But I saw that, had a feeling, I saw that he was trying to build something over there and I wanted to be a part of that. And they weren't, team wasn't very good at the time and I thought that would be my best opportunity to play. So I chose to, go there. They offered me the scholarship and my playing career didn't work out like I had planned on it, but as a coach, my playing career was the best thing that could have happened to me.
Really? Why do you say that?
I can relate with every player on my roster.
Right.
Being one of the better players on my high school team, I know how my players feel who are game planned for. We had a senior who didn't get to play a whole lot this past season. That was me my
You've
senior
been there,
year.
yeah.
I knew how she felt. Had a player who was injured and couldn't play. Basically had to sit out the whole season. I knew how she felt. Players who suffer with confidence, just anything.
Been there, yeah.
I've been every single player on my roster, and I didn't realize it at the time. And I had no clue at the time I had no clue when I finished that I was going to get into coaching. But looking back, that not getting to play as much as I anticipated or as much as I had hoped helped me more as a coach than I think it would have if I had played 20, 25 minutes a game.
Man, that's good stuff, Erik.
And I was on the scout team.
That is so good. I mean, the idea that in some way prepared you, that is really cool.
That
you
and
understand that connection.
being on the scout team
Yes.
and having the responsibility of learning the other team's offense to prepare our rotation guys for the next game, kind of helped me pick up a scouting report real quick and watch video and break down things a little bit quicker because we may only have 15 minutes to learn all of Creighton's offense. And if we don't run it right, then that's on us, not the fact that we only had 15 minutes to learn something they've been running all year.
Yeah.
So those things really, really were beneficial to me now as a coach.
And you were part of a turnaround. You said they went from 12 wins to 26.
Yeah, my first 2 years, 86, 87, we won 12 games. 89, we won 20 and got beat the first round of the NIT. 90, we won 26, which at that time was a record for most wins in a season. We were Missouri Valley champions. Should have went to the NCAA tournament. When the bids came out, I think we were 32nd in the poll. But because we lost to Illinois State at Illinois State in the conference championship. The Valley was a one-bid league. We didn't get that bid.
Oh, wow.
So, and that was a year we think, that is an underrated, unsung team at SIU Basketball because we didn't get the opportunity to play in the NCAA tournament. But I would put that 1990 team up against any of the great teams they've had since.
Well, it's a great feeling, though, to be a part of that turnaround, though, to be
Yeah.
a part of what, shaped the next era of SIU basketball. Because places I've been and coached, the players that helped make that turn from bad to good will forever be special to me. Not that there other guys aren't, but when you are committed and you are buying in when there's not a lot to buy in at first.
Yeah.
But those guys that say we're all in, even though we don't know what the future looks like yet, that's special.
Well, two guys in my recruiting class were probably the biggest blocks in that turnaround, Rick Shipley and Sterling Mahan. Sterling started the same year I did, but he was a red shirt, academic red shirt, then Ship comes the next year, so we graduate together. But the first game, I redshirted my first year, 86, 87. Our first game, there may have been 1,200 people there for a home game. 1990, our last 3 games, we played in front of almost 30,000 people total. We played in front of 2 straight sellouts and a crowd of about 8,000 to wrap up the season and clinch the championship.
That's
so
exciting.
we really made a complete 180.
Yeah, I remember the excitement surrounding SIU basketball. When I was a student there, they weren't very good. But then when Rich came and that slowly built, and it was an exciting time.
It was fun. Look at me.
Congratulations.
Didn't realize it at the time, but
Yeah.
just looking back now, it's special and seeing the struggles they're having now and the difficulty being consistent.
Yeah.
And Coach had a vision and he stuck with it.
Yeah, he did. He did. When you graduated, I guess I should have asked this earlier, but you mentioned when you're going through all that, you weren't thinking it was going to benefit you as a coach. When did you start thinking, I want to coach?
I didn't have much of a plan when I graduated because I was so mature. The coach at Carrier Mills had resigned, and my plan was if I was going to be in the area, that I wanted to coach maybe 5th, 6th grade basketball, do something to give back because I didn't feel like, because my playing career wasn't what I had hoped it could be, what I wanted it to be. I felt there was still some more basketball in me somehow or some way. So I decided maybe coach 5th or 6th grade, something like that would be fun. Well, the coach resigns, really don't have a large pool of applicants to choose from. And I talked to my high school coach at the time and asked him what he thought. And he said, he encouraged me to do it. And I talked to some people and applied, and here I'm hired at 22 years old to be the head coach at the school I just played at 5 years earlier.
How did that feel? I mean, did you feel pressure or not?
Yeah, I did. We were kind of in a drought for talent at that time. My tallest player was 5'11". Yeah. Didn't have a lot of size. Kids played hard. I had no clue what I was doing. 22 years old, you think coaching is just a lot of yelling and screaming at the referees because that's what you see your coaches do, and didn't realize all the work that went into building just a competitive team. Yeah. And I can't blame my players because they tried hard. They did everything they could. great relationships with a lot of them. To this day, they still call me coach, even though I wasn't much of a coach to them.
And much older than
And
they
I'm
are.
much older than
Yeah,
those guys
yeah.
were. And I think the pressure is because I had won my last year in high school.
Yeah.
And then the last 3 years at SIU was a part of a winning program. So I'm just thinking, oh, just come out and play and you're going to win. I didn't realize what went into it. So that pressure was there. And then I think, and you can attest to this as a coach, I think sometimes they thought that I was going to play. Some of the fans thought the team should be better because I'm the coach. Well, I can't
Yeah.
play. I wish I could play, but
But you're going to bring some of that player magic.
yeah. And
Back as a
we
coach.
started off. We won our first 2 games, and
Oh, my.
expectations
Yeah.
were sky high.
Yeah, he fed the monster right
And
there. Yeah.
they fell like a sack of potatoes off the Empire State Building. We lost our next 13 games.
Yeah.
And I decided after I quit, I stepped down, that I wanted no parts
Yeah.
of being a coach again.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't like losing. I don't like this feeling. I felt like I had failed, and like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Wow. So you were like, no, this isn't for me.
No, this is not for
So
me.
what? I know you end up at Meridian. So is that the next step?
No, a couple of good friends of mine, Alan Jackson and Terry Felty, were coaches at the junior high in Cary Mills, and they asked me to help out.
Okay.
And I was a volunteer with those guys, and now the roles have flipped, where I grew up watching guys play and I wanted to be like them. Now these guys that I'm helping coach, they grew up watching me.
Yeah.
And that's kind of when the bug bit me. Like,
Oh,
here are these guys that look up to me, and they're wanting to be like me. Okay, maybe this is something I want to look into, and maybe this is something I could do.
So a couple of years doing that, and then you apply for a job at Meridian as
Well, Matt Wynn got hired as head coach.
Right.
And when he got hired, he called me, hey, got hired as head coach. I want you to be my JV coach. And it was pretty much a no-brainer. We were roommates in college. We were teammates for 4 years, best friends.
Yeah.
Hey, perfect scenario.
Yeah.
Love to. And it was three of the best years I had coaching. Like, we joke about it now that we didn't know a whole lot. All we knew was what we had been taught at SIU. He
Yeah.
played for Rich and Ron Heron, so we did a lot of the things that we did at SIU that had been successful.
Sure.
And he was able to rebuild a program there that had a lot of success in the past and kind of fell in some down times. 96, we won the first regional in 16 years down there. And for us to have been so young, and I still keep in contact with some of those guys, we're really close, they remark on how crazy it was that we weren't a whole lot older than them, but yet, to be able to be father figures to some guys and role models and mentors, and just the maturity to deal with, as one of them said, to deal with a bunch of knuckleheads and keep us in line.
Yeah.
But it was just one of those things where we were blessed to be in the right place at the right time, and with kids who bought into what we were trying to impart in them. And those guys have turned out to be successful young men.
I had a former player see me at a reunion one time, and he was a Carterville player for me, and he walked up to me at the reunion and said, I just realized the other day how young you were when you were our coach. He goes, I didn't think of it at that time. And I said, well, that's really a compliment. I mean, that I didn't come off as young as I was, because that meant a lot to me. Because you're right, when you're that young, you don't know if you can mentor or not.
Yeah.
You hope you can, you try to, but I was still learning every
we were
day.
24, 25 when we first started, so we were barely 10 years older than those guys.
And still going through, trying to figure out what we're doing, our philosophy, our schemes, but that's great. So you end up becoming the head coach at Meridian in 2014, and is that the year?
2014, 2015, our first year, we ended up getting second in state.
Wow, tell me about that team.
It was like, again, blessed to be in the right place at the right time. I walk into 9 seniors, and basketball, if you have 9 seniors and you're a first year coach, that's usually not a good thing, because there's going to be some blowback and some defiance because we've done things this way for so long. 2 of the guys, I talked to them not long after I got hired. We had long conversations on the phone. I was like, this is what I see us doing. This is how we're going to do things. I go down and I meet with some of the players and introduce myself, give them some of my background, and here's my expectations. And I asked each of them, what is your goal for the season? And almost to a man, they said, we want to go to state. David Davis, who was just recently took the head coaching job at Paducah Tillman, took Meridian to state in 2024 and had a great team this past season. He said, I want to get back to the super sectional because he had lost twice in the super sectional.
Yeah.
I asked, what do you guys need to get there? What do we need to achieve your goals? And I'm expecting, they're kids, I'm expecting a new offense, new defense, new uniforms. We need discipline.
Really? They said that?
We need discipline.
Wow,
we need
great
discipline.
answer.
And I was like, I don't know how good of a coach I can be, but I can give you discipline. I can give you discipline.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize this till long after the fact. Like, we had conditioning. And my entire team quit after conditioning. In the locker room, they all quit. They decided they were going to quit. It was early enough they could transfer to other schools. This guy, he's crazy. He's not going to come in here and do this. He can't talk to us like that. We're not coming back. Well, the next day they're all back and kept telling them, we're building for the fourth quarter of the state championship. We're building for the fourth quarter of the state championship. I did a scout report on them. 2013, 2014 season, Harrisburg beat Meridian in the championship of the holiday tournament. I did the scouting report. I had seen them play 3 or 4 times, and I knew they had players coming back. So when I got hired, I was imagining the schemes that Coach Smith-Peters used at Harrisburg with those kids that I was going to take at Meridian. And I'm like, if this defense would work with the best baseball player in the state and an all-state defensive lineman in the starting lineup, how's it going to work when I got a bunch of guys that all they do is play basketball? So took a lot of the stuff that Coach did and we started off well. There was high expectations from the fans because they'd had great regular seasons before, but didn't have that postseason success. So when we lose games that we should have won or fans thought we should have won, it was I the right choice? And then we peak in the postseason. We started playing our best basketball. Everything came together in the regional. Our regional game was the closest game. We beat Trico by 8 points, I think, and we only led the last 3 minutes of the game. After that, every win was a double-figure win.
Yeah, we talked about before we went on air that peaking at the right time is so crucial. I have fought that battle as a coach, and you want to do it, and you try to do things, and you guys did it.
It was just the offense automatically clicked. We played 2 games in the sectional, and we shot 6 3-pointers in 2 games. We recognized, hey, we're not a 3-point shooting team. We didn't take the bait. We get to state, play Forston. They had won state in 2A, bigger than us. They were up-tempo, and it was the craziest thing in the world that Meridian is slowing the ball down to keep them, to try to limit their possessions. And then we win that game by 15 points. And out-rebounded by 27. And I still recall in the press conference, their coach, Forston's coach said, we weren't more physical than them. Well, we out-rebounded you by 27, so...
Oh, he said you weren't more physical.
Yeah. Well, we out-rebounded you by 27, and we don't have a football team.
That's an interesting observation.
Your starting lineup was all on the starters in the state championship football team.
Good football school, yeah.
You know, and then to this day, we say we were 30 seconds from a state championship. We were down 12 in the fourth quarter, cut it to 3, and foul with 6 seconds left. Kid misses the first free throw. I call a timeout. Here's what we're going to do. To this day, I can see the kid missing the second free throw. We kick it out to David Davis, who's left-handed. He's curling. He's going to take one dribble, and he banks in a 3, goes in overtime, and we pull away. That's still the vision I have in my head if he misses that second free throw. He makes the second free throw, and it was done. But the great thing about those kids, there was not one tear shed. They were so happy, and they lived in the moment, and they realized we did something that nobody thought we could do except for us.
Amen to that.
And they were so proud of the fact that they'd done something that a team hadn't done since 1972. And, you know, it was a complete team effort that they, you know, our post players were 6'2". We had lost our best shooter to a knee injury. There was a lot of things that we weren't. But the thing that we were was a team, and that was successful. And that kind of just carried over the rest of my time down there.
That's great stuff because you knew what they could do well. You knew what the challenges were. You adjusted things. That's a great story. And what a cool season. And they made their own history. I love the fact they accepted the situation. They weren't happy with the outcome, but they knew in the moment
There was only 2 teams that were going to play the last game of the season.
That's right.
In Class A basketball, and they were one of them. And we said 30 seconds, and we're state champions.
You went on to win a couple of regional championships there.
Yeah.
So you had continued success. In 2018, just a few years after that championship run, you resigned from Meridian. What was the motivation? Just a change you needed, or what was it?
It was a combination of things like that. I had 2 seniors on that 2018 team that had been freshmen on the team that went to state, and they played a lot. And I really thought that that group could have won state. We upgraded the schedule. We played a lot tougher competition. Played in the Pyramid tournament with Marion those last 2 years. My last 2 years down there, we started the season 1-9 because we're playing Marion, we're playing Collinsville, we're playing Mount Vernon to get better. And we got beat in the regional championship at home by Goreville, a great Goreville team. And the sadness in that locker room, it's despair, almost like someone had died. And the tears and the disappointment that we had put everything in, like all we talked about all year was we're winning state, we're winning state. We know we got 2 guys who've been there. We know what we need to do. If we get there, we got guys who've been in this moment. We're not going to be nervous. There's not going to be nerves. And to lose that game and have to go in and address those guys and the hugs and the I love yous and everything, I was like, I do not want to experience this again. I do not, and I felt like it was my fault. You know, as coaches, when we lose, especially when you got a group that's special, you take that on you. And I was like, I do not want to let I don't want to let a group of kids down again. And then the travel, living in Harrisburg and going to Meridian every day was just tough.
Sure.
My son was 4 at the time, 5 years old. I remember he was sick, he had the flu. And I'm leaving for school at 6 o'clock in the morning. So I leave, two straight days, when I leave, he's asleep. And when I get home, he's asleep. Yeah. So we're in the same house, and I don't see my son awake.
That's tough.
So I just wanted to spend more time with him, and and it just wore on me. But just that I didn't want to feel that disappointment again of here we put all this work in, here we've done A, B, and C, but yet we can't achieve our goal. And looking back, Goreville was a better team than us. It was great. They ended up going to state that year. But it was just I didn't want to experience that disappointment and feel like I let kids down again. So I wasn't officially done coaching, but I called it I'm in semi-retirement.
You went on to be an assistant then at Harrisburg.
I took about a year sabbatical, where, as I call it, I went and watched games with my back against the bleachers. And one of my friends was like, "What do you mean you have your back against the bleachers?" I said, "As coaches, we watch basketball with our forearms and elbows on our knees." I said, I got to watch as a fan. I just went and sat back and watched the game. I didn't have to think. Yeah. I could just watch. And my first year here at Marion, teaching at Marion, 2019-2020, I joined Randy's staff again as a volunteer and picked back up where I'd left off with those guys again.
Were you thinking I might be willing to do a head coaching job again at that time?
No, that I did not. I had no desire to ever be a head coach again.
Well, you are.
So, ironically, after the 2015 season, if I had stayed at Harrisburg as an assistant, I was going to quit coaching after the 2015 season.
Really?
Yeah, I decided, we had just got custody of our son. I just wanted to stay home. Wanted to be home, spend time. I drug my daughters all over the place with basketball, and I just wanted to spend time with my son. And then the opportunity in Meridian came up, and it was too good to pass up. But it's funny. It's funny how God works.
Amen, brother. Amen. Yeah, be careful what you think you're going to do. So you come to Marion as an assistant coach in 2022. Mm-hmm. So you spent a couple of years during that time. There were some good things. There were some challenging things that took place during those 2 years. Jersey Biddle was playing at that time. Great player. One of the high points of that era. In 2024, the job comes open. And is this something you knew, like, this is what I want?
I won't say necessarily what I wanted. Our staff encouraged me to apply for the position. We kind of felt we were on the verge of doing something special. Yeah. And they encouraged me to apply for the position. the returning players asked me to apply, and I didn't want to give them the satisfaction of thinking I did it for them. I told them, nope, I don't want to be head coach. I'm going here, I'm going there. But it felt right at that time. There were other opportunities I could have pursued, but they just didn't feel right. And at that time, it felt like, okay, this is the time for you now. This is a good time for you to step up and take over. So I applied for the job and fortunately was hired.
Well, you've got good instincts, because when you feel that inclination to do certain things, they seem to work out, because that 2025 season ends up being a historic season. Did you see that coming at all, or was the level of success a surprise?
We had a great summer last year, and I joke and say at my age, I'm too old to do a rebuild, but I can remodel. And it was just remodeling some things, some of the things that we had done before. And I'd spent almost 20 years as assistant coach with Randy Smith-Peters, who, in my biased opinion, I think if he's not the greatest boys high school basketball coach in Southern Illinois, he's got to be in the conversation because of his success with football players and baseball players.
Yeah, he's on the list to sit across from me. And, he needs to be here, yeah.
What he's done at Harrisburg, I used it coaching AAU, from fifth graders up to a team of guys who played high-level Division I, Division II basketball. I used it coaching girls when I was a JV girls coach at Harrisburg, so I knew it. And we were Harrisburg South when I was at Meridian. Playing in the El Dorado Holiday Tournament, we're watching Harrisburg play. And they're calling the same sets that we're calling. And one of my players said, hey, Coach, they're running the same plays we are.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, we're running their plays.
Yeah.
Coach came over and showed us some stuff at practice this year. And I told him the first 20, 25 minutes is going to look real familiar to you. And I just imparted the stuff that he used to be successful and implemented that with our program.
That's such a good compliment to him, though.
I knew it would be successful, but we had a great summer last year. We kind of had to change the mentality, had a great summer, had a couple of transfers move in that upped the ante for us a little bit. But the biggest thing was the girls started believing they could win.
Boy, that's powerful, isn't it?
And that confidence, and they didn't drop their heads after losses. It was always, let's keep moving forward. We had a goal in sight. Unlike football, where if you lose a couple of games early, your chances of being in the playoffs diminish.
Yeah.
Hey, it's okay to lose to Vienna that first game of the season. Nobody's ever won a regional in November.
That's right.
In basketball. Hey, let's keep building. We got to keep building. We got to keep building. And we kind of, we emphasized it at Meridian. Your rival doesn't have to be someone who's close to you. Your rival should be someone who's had success, and you want to attain what they had. So I was like, let's get away from the local teams being our rivals. Who have we not beat? Mount Vernon. That's our rival. Let's go after them. So we had some knockdown, drag-out games with them. Never beat them. They beat us 4 times. But they were, they themselves were a few seconds from state. But the difference was the girls believed that they could beat them.
Yeah.
And just the spirit that they had. They reminded me a lot of that 2015 team at Meridian. We weren't very big. We were quick. We were athletic, competitive, tenacious. Coach Davis watched us play a couple of times, and I said, what do you think? He said, they do remind me of us.
Really?
They, just when you think they're done. My point guard for that team, DJ Weldon, he comes to watch us in the sectionals. And we're down 15 points in the third quarter against Civic Memorial, and we come back and win. And he said, I knew at some point, because I'd been in that situation, that
Gonna make a run.
They're good. Their defense is going to turn up. They're going to get some turnovers, and then everything's going to start clicking. And they believed in each other. And that's probably the hardest thing to get kids to do now, coaching-wise, because the kids don't play as much, I don't think. Get them to believe in each other and to trust each other on the court. And and we thought we were a year away. And at some point, it's like, why wait till next year to go to state? Let's go this year.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's go this year.
Do
The
it
next
now.
year, and then next year we know what to expect when we come back. And they bought into that. And we still, we think if we had beat Mount Vernon in the sectional championship, that we could have went to state. Because after we won the regional, we were the underdog. So we had nothing to lose. Let's go out and play. We're not supposed to be Civic Memorial in their gym.
Yeah.
So let's just go out and play. We've already, done what we weren't supposed to do, so there's no pressure on us anymore.
Well, I appreciate you sharing. It was a lot of fun to follow and to feel the excitement. It's been a while since we've been through that. Outside of some individual players being really good, like Jersey, there was the team. Man, the town really got excited about girls basketball. That was really cool. A good tribute to you and the girls, and you got a whole bunch coming back.
Yeah, we returned pretty much our whole team, and we haven't had our whole group together, but for one day this summer. So really, really excited about getting them together in the season. They need some time away from me. They need some time away from each other.
And you have a lot of multi-sport athletes, right? So I mean, they're doing other things.
And I think that makes it a little bit better. I was just one sport. I only had the ability to play one sport. And at Carey Mills, all we had was baseball and basketball. Yeah. But I think that them playing those other sports, and then that when they get back in the gym in late October, November, wherever it is, that spark or click now, because what I always wanted. One of the things I wanted as the head coach is softball successful, soccer successful, volleyball has been successful. We have to get basketball on that level, because I've seen it at smaller schools like Goreville, where all their programs are successful, and that you have athletes that are playing multiple sports. They get used to winning, and that's all they're going to accept. Nashville is probably the best example of that. They win at everything. Yeah. If they had state and checkers, they're going to state and checkers, but that winning breeds winning. So, the girls stepping up like they did last year, I think would just make the girls' athletic program at Marion better, because now you got winners all across the board now.
And nobody wants to be the sport
exactly.
That's not,
Exactly.
I'm going to run through some coaching questions with you now, and they'll be, could be short answers, could be long answers, doesn't make any difference. But when you look at a basketball team, you've coached some really elite teams. What do you think? What are a couple of keys you feel like to being a good basketball team?
I've kind of I don't call it a system that I like my players to be interchangeable. That you can play any position on the floor, you can guard any position on the floor. A post player can get a rebound and start the fast break. If we have a guard that can score on another guard, hey, we'll put you inside and let you at least draw a foul. That just being the ability to play basketball. I would love to be a coach that called a different play every time down, but when you have kids who can't remember their code to their cell phone, and they forget assignments and don't know where their locker is, I can't expect them to learn 12. I won't say I can't expect. Sometimes it's unreasonable to expect them to learn 12 different offensive plays.
Hey, do what you do and do it well.
Well, one of the things I carried from Coach Smith Peters. It's better to be really good at a couple of things than mediocre at 15. Yeah. So we stay with what we do, and we drill that repetition. And if we're good at what we do, it doesn't matter what the other team does.
You just echoed what legendary Dick Korn said last week, that he was amazed how many different things other coaches did, and he goes, I felt like I wasn't doing enough, but what the genius was what they did. They did really well. They didn't care if anyone knew what they were doing. They could still out-execute you. And
I tell my players, you're not going to be impressed with my knowledge of states, numbers, animals, colors, whatever. We're not going to Indiana, Kentucky, Missouri, red, blue, green, polka dot, tiger, bear. We're going to run one or two things, and we're going to be good at those.
Yeah. Do you have any non-negotiables as a coach? Like things that I can tolerate this, I can deal with that, but here's a couple of things that these are things I can't negotiate with you on.
Not handling things outside of the basketball court. You can be the most talented player on the team, but if you're in trouble every day, you're not doing the job academically, you don't show up for school. If I can't trust you when I don't see you, then it makes me not have that trust in you to do the things. If you can't handle the pressure when you're not being coached, then I don't know if I can trust you all the time as a player.
Oh, that's great. I mean, I remember the great Lou Holtz once said his first question to any team or any player was, can I trust you? Number one. Because if there is no element of trust, we have no relationship. I can't put you on the field in a pressure situation. You got to have that trust, and you're right. Trust in front of me is one thing, but trust away from me, that's the real test.
I mean, just because I don't want to have to look over my shoulder we went to Kankakee for a shootout where we stayed overnight. I don't want to have to be up all night looking out my door and being in the lobby. I want to be able to trust that you can have fun, but you don't cross the line. I shouldn't be getting emails from teachers and from the administration about disruption, disrespect, those type of things. So that it's for me, it's more the stuff off the court. Because if you can handle the stuff off the court, the stuff on the court's real easy. That was one of the things what made the turnaround with SIU. The coaches started getting good people in. And you didn't have to worry so much about, guys being ineligible and grades and, getting into problems outside of the basketball off campus. If you can trust your players, you're usually going to have positive results. May not win a bunch of games, but it's less of a headache.
Oh, well, yeah, you could have success and have a miserable experience. Yes. You can also have not so much success, but have a great bunch of kids that are bought in, and you can.
I'd rather lose every game with a bunch of kids who do their best and they hold themselves accountable than win a bunch of games with kids that are constant. There's always something, and and that's the old school in me.
Sure.
I knew there was expectations from my coaches and my teachers that if you don't do what you're supposed to do in the classroom, then you're not going to be able to play.
What's your favorite part? What's the best part of coaching?
Seeing their enjoyment when they win. It was priceless seeing their reaction when they won the regional, and the smiles and the joy in the pictures afterwards. And I didn't want to get in them because, to me, I've had my 15 seconds of fame.
Right.
This is your moment. When you look back on this, that you did that. You were out there playing. You were practicing. You gave up your time to be here. That's probably still my favorite because I remember how it felt when we won the regional my senior year and how it felt when we won the conference championship at SIU. So to see them do something they had not done before, that hadn't been done here in a long time, and to see the kids at Meridian as, we win the regional, then we win the sectional, then we win the super sectional, that first game in state, that satisfaction and that joy that, hey, we did this, we did something big.
Most challenging part?
How it's changed. He's just not a coach anymore. I sometimes I look back and man, I bet it was fun to coach in the 70s and 80s when it was just about basketball.
Yeah.
You didn't have to be a psychologist. You didn't have to be all these other things. And I relish that because as a teacher, I'm dealing with different kids and with different problems. But sometimes you just have to step back and think. I have to stop and think they're not like I was, where basketball was everything.
Yeah.
Some of them don't know how to, I guess, when they come to practice, they step on the court, that whatever's bothering them, this is my escape. So that's probably the toughest part of it. And just the evolve, how I won't say kids have changed, the expectations have changed, and trying to not compromise myself and my values and the things that I was taught as a player and that I learned from other coaches. Not trying to compromise that, but still be effective with my relationship with my players.
That's really interesting because it is a different world. You can't coach the old way, but at the same time, you can't lower your standards. Yeah. You can't, so there is that fine line, and I think you're doing a great job of finding it. So that's really cool. And we spoke off camera before about history and about the history of Carrier Mills, and I was just blown away in the history of so many things. And you just enlightened me with so many good things, Coach. And what a great story, what a great growing up in Carrier Mills and your playing career, the coaching experiences you've had, a pretty special story, man. And I'm glad you got to be on here and tell it because you've had an amazing influence on a lot of young people. And every place you've been, and everybody speaks so highly of you, and I couldn't wait to get you on here and tell your story. So
it's been a pleasure.
I'm so glad you came here, and we are blessed to have you. I mean that. So family-wise, last thing, talk about your family.
Wife Danielle, she's been with me a long time, too long. Sometimes if you ask her, she's had to deal with a lot with the basketball, thinking that I'm done, and then here I'm jumping back into it. And my daughters, Lexi and Ashley, they were my sidekicks for so many years. where we go to games and coaches, hey, where's your girls? It seemed weird not having them with me. And now my son is, he wanted to be here today, and I was like, no, there's no place for you to be. But grew up in a basketball family.
Yeah.
My girls have been a part, my son's been a part of it. My sister and mom, they follow me still. Thank goodness that I was the oldest, because my sister is like, if there's anything as a perfect child, it was her. Straight A student, never got in trouble.
Glad she wasn't above.
Yes, I'm so glad that I came first and it wasn't her. But just supportive and understanding that it's something I love.
Yeah.
And it's something I have a passion for. And I've learned, probably, not probably to their benefit, how to balance that. I don't bring the losses home. I don't bring the bad practices home. Now I've learned that when I get in the car, I stop being Coach Griff. I'm Dad and I'm Pops now. Amen. And that kind of makes it a lot easier, because there's only so much I can control. So.
Well, I want to thank you again, man.
I appreciate it. Appreciate being
I love
here.
the shirt today. Phi Slamma Jamma. That's awesome.
This was a big reason why I did not learn how to shoot a basketball. Watching those guys play, the dunks and everything.
Oh, I love that era, man. Thanks again, man.
Thanks for having me, Coach.
Hey, listen, thanks for joining us today and each week. I want to thank Ross and Abby. I want to thank Crown Brew. I want to thank my buddies at Adrenaline. I want to thank Tony Gooch at Marion Plumbing. Don't forget about Ross's wedding videography, and just appreciate the support. 50 episodes and we're still going strong. Got a bunch of great people lined up in the next few weeks. So stay with us, keep watching, and great seeing you. Thanks so much.